The film starts in a cartel building. A DEA SWAT squad headed by elite agent James Baker is preparing to assault the laboratory. The sniper dispatches the first sentry, allowing the SWAT squad to proceed. When they arrive at the facility, the criminals and the SWAT squad engage in a firefight. When the police gain control, the offenders flee downstairs. James and his squad proceed downstairs to continue eliminating the crooks. After dispatching the majority of the Mexican gang, James tells the last surviving thug to lay down his firearm. At one point, another criminal distracts him, and the thug pounces on James with a dagger, but is quickly subdued. Finally, the villains are defeated, but James learns that he has murdered 3 captives unintentionally. He is sent home to recuperate from hallucinations and fears caused by PTSD from murdering harmless people. After a lengthy wait, he eventually encounters his wife and 2 teenage daughters. The focus turns to Johnny, an imprisoned felon. He will be released shortly, and a gang of imprisoned men attempt to attack him in retaliation for what Johnny has done to them in the past. Johnny easily defeats his opponents and settles down to smoke a cigarette. He is a military soldier who served in Iraq and Afghanistan. Furthermore, through excellent conduct, he persuaded the officials that he deserved a second opportunity and was released from prison. Meanwhile, James eats with his family and is tormented by what he did to the captives. Later, because they need to spend time together, the girls give their parents a short holiday in the mountains. Johnny's friends appear at the prison to pick him up and transport him home. In the vehicle, the 2 question Johnny about some money he concealed before being imprisoned. We see in a flashback that he kept $3 million in a house. It comes out that James and his family live in the home where Johnny stashed his loot. In reality, James' daughter discovered the money and started spending it. The girls used this money to pay for their parents' holiday. One evening, as the girl is taking more money from a purse, her sister notices it and inquires as to where she got it. They dispute because one of them believes they should not handle money that is not theirs. The other sibling, on the other hand, believes it is now hers because she discovered it. In the meantime, Johnny and his pals travel to see his sibling. Johnny stresses the importance of taking the money quietly and without drawing notice to themselves. The group arrives at James' home that evening. A man steps out of his car and starts looking around the home. When he returns to the vehicle, he informs the others that the home has 4 occupants. James, who had been sleepwalking, awakens and snatches his gun at that precise time. He descends the steps and fires at the window through which the gang attempted to enter the home. The 3 flee, and James wakes up terrified. His wife awakens and grabs his pistol. He feels guilty and offers to depart to assure their protection, but she insists on his staying. The next day, James' old buddy Sebastian pays him a visit to drink and chat. James requests that he remain behind to protect his family in case he loses control again. He seeks the assistance of a doctor, who explains that what he is feeling is typical following such trauma. Meanwhile, James' profession is revealed to Johnny by his subordinate. So Johnny approaches a buddy, a police detective, and offers him 10% of the $3 million. James consults with a psychologist, who recommends him to take a holiday with his wife and unwind in order to heal from the trauma. When James is brought to the police station one day, Johnny's police officer buddy informs him that he has an arrest warrant out for him. Nonetheless, James recognizes that the ruling is invalid because it was not signed by the judge. The cop calls Johnny and informs him that the scheme did not work and that James is free to go. That afternoon, James and his wife depart for their mountain holiday, leaving their 2 girls at home. As they drive away, one of the thugs steps out to appear to check the engine. Dominic, the other man, is trying to get into the home. The henchmen ready their firearms in the evening, but they have no idea what is about to happen. The sisters have planned a get-together and called a group of pals to watch a movie with them. Nonetheless, the goons do not appear to be concerned and have no plans to cancel the operation. James and his wife are still on the road, and he is experiencing memories of the event. His wife sees that he is ill and inquires as to what occurred. After killing the criminals, James informs her that they had unintentionally murdered 3 hostages, a mother and 2 children. The wife attempts to comfort James, telling him that it was an error that could have occurred to anyone. Natalie, one of the girls, locks herself in the room at home because she dislikes the gathering. She lowers the lamp by accident and discovers the box in which Johnny has concealed money, a precious ring, and a photograph of a lady. Natalie chooses to conduct an internet inquiry on the prior owners of this home at this time. She discovers a story about Johnny's arrest as well as a picture of the lady, who is most likely his ex-wife. She chooses to conceal the box in her PC case and contacts James' buddy Sebastian to show him what she has discovered. She also notifies him of Johnny's arrest, to which he advises her to stay calm. Sebastian instructs her to conceal the money and speak with her sibling. Dominic, the henchman, consumes pills to boost his confidence before heading to work. The other guys are concerned about him because he has the potential to do some horrible acts out of control. Returning to Natalie, she discovers her sister having fun with a guy and informs her that she has discovered something. She plans to phone her father and leaves a message for him to call back right away. The thugs approach the home wearing hoods. They come across 2 teens having a good time in a vehicle. A henchman kidnaps the child, and the female attempts to flee, but Dominic kills her. Sebastian knows something is amiss and orders the teenagers to return home. A man walks outside to urinate, but Dominic discovers him and shoots him as well. Dominic then proceeds to murder the teenagers after the men break into the home. Natalie enters the room and conceals under the bed. She calls her mother's number, and James replies. Unfortunately, he cannot hear her clearly and informs her that he will phone back later. His wife instructs him to phone back, but there is no signal. Dominic breaks into Natalie's chamber and discovers her. When James eventually locates the signal, he notices Natalie's message that criminals have broken into the home. James is unsure whether he is dreaming or experiencing reality. He shows it to his wife, who verifies that it is genuine. He dials Sebastian's number, but he does not respond. As a result, they resolve to return home right away. Meanwhile, the henchmen start searching for the money concealed in the home. When they get to the kitchen with the plunder, one of the henchmen says they have an issue. Everything was discovered except Johnny's deceased wife's band. Furthermore, Johnny's brother claims that $100,000 of the $3 million they were meant to locate is missing, and he approaches Natalie's sister, asking where the money is, but she says she doesn't know. Fortunately, the other employee discovers the remaining funds behind a wall. Sebastian manages to free himself with his wrists bound. He then pounces on Johnny's younger sibling and tosses him to the ground. The henchman attempts to take the pistol, but Sebastian smashes his head against the floor before shooting him in the skull. Sebastian is kicked in the cranium by the other thug. Johnny receives a phone call from the subordinate, informing him that his sibling has died. The scene switches to a street brawl. Johnny's longtime friend Ray is fighting another guy. Ray defeats his opponent and then runs into Johnny, whom he hasn't seen in years. Johnny reveals that his sibling was murdered and instructs them to follow him because he has a task for them. Johnny and the goons later arrive at James' home. Johnny discovers his brother's dead body and stabs Sebastian to death with a dagger. He takes Sebastian's phone and contacts James, who tells him that touching his daughters will result in his death. James tells him that he is already late and that he is expecting him. Then Johnny brings Natalie to his room, where she hands him the box containing the band. When James and his wife reach home, he instructs her to remain in the car while he deals with the criminals. As he approaches the home, he is noticed by 2 henchmen in the vehicle. One of them climbs out of the vehicle to investigate. James, who has been lurking under the vehicle, throws him down. The other goon seeks to get out of the vehicle, but James beats him down and knocks him out. After that, James walks past the home and murders 2 more thugs. A henchman approaches him as he walks and attempts to strike him in the head, but James pushes him to the ground. Then he gets a message from his wife saying she has contacted the cops. Dominic ventures outside and discovers the corpses. When James enters the house, he discovers the first daughter and instructs her to go outside and flee. A henchman later attempts to stab him, but James sees his shadow and murders him. Meanwhile, Johnny and his soldiers are told that James has arrived. When Ray spots him, he dares him to hand-to-hand combat. James wounds him twice with a dagger, but Ray tosses it away. Nonetheless, he gains the upper edge and knocks Ray out with 2 punches to the head. Dominic approaches the home with the gun, and James surprises him from behind. Dominic attempts to kill him, but he twists his hand toward himself and triggers the trigger. He then proceeds upstairs. Trey, a henchman, is keeping Natalie captive and threatening James that he will murder her. Nonetheless, James aims the pistol at him and shoots him. Then he embraces his daughter and instructs her to hurry downstairs. James addresses Johnny by name and informs him that only the 2 of them remain. He opens the entrance to Johnny's chamber and tosses Trey's corpse in, which Johnny shoots a few times. The 2 then fight hand-to-hand, with James bashing his forehead into the ground. Soon after, the cop comes, and James convinces him to shoot Johnny, divide the money, and depart. The cop agrees and murders Johnny, but James' wife comes and shoots the cop. Finally, the police come, and James and his family are secure. The movie ends here. Please, like and subscribe to my channel.